Hello, and welcome to another episode of Talking Comics with the Toy Vault. I'm Alex.
I'm Alyssa.
Alyssa, what are we talking about this time?
We're doing it a little bit different than we normally do this time. We're talking about more indie books than pretty much anything else, but there are a lot of cool, interesting titles that we feel like people should know about. But we're going to be talking about Blackbird, which is an Image comic, Shatterstar, which is Marvel, a What If comic, which is a Marvel comic, and this one's specifically a Spider-Man Punisher crossover type thing. We're going to be talking about Batman Blank, which we'll explain in detail once we get there. Alex is going to talk a little bit about a comic series called Rose that he's into.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about Murder Falcon, which is another Image book that just came out.
It's metal. All right. So let's dive right into it. Blackbird. It's written by Sam Humphries and Jen Bartel. They've both done a few indie things. Sam Humphries recently did a huge run on Green Lanterns for DC, and he's currently writing Harley right now for DC. And Jen Bartel did some work on Gem and the Holograms, which was a great series. So Blackbird, Alyssa, what do you think about Blackbird?
I really, really liked it. I know a lot of times when we talk about Image comics, I end up really liking them because I just love Image in general.
What a shocker.
But before I actually read this, I was kind of iffy about it. We had the flyers for it kicking around at the Warwick store for quite some time, and I kept looking at it and wondering whether or not I wanted to read it. But I'm really glad that I did, because not only is it visually stunning, but I think the storyline behind it's really cool.
I like it a lot. So basically, without going too much into it, it's about a young girl named Nina who, when she was 13, had a vision of an earthquake. And when the time came for it, everyone who thought she was crazy was proven wrong when the earthquake happened. And during the earthquake, she runs out to try to find her family and ends up running into a large magical beast that ends up saving her and kind of kicks off her interest and love and hardcore belief in the world and realms of magic, because everyone else forgot about what happened and she was the one who remembered, so she gets isolated from her family for this belief. And that's the core premise of this book, is her trying to find magic.
It's interesting. It deals with, this character, Nina, having to basically cope with the fact that she's the only one out of her entire family that believes that this thing happened. And everybody just kind of treats her like she's crazy and like she's an outcast when, she's obviously right about everything. And just basically trying to prove that she's not completely insane. And it deals with loss, and it deals with addiction and how to cope with family tragedy, and it's a pretty interesting book. I really like it.
It's very well written. It's something very surprising out of what I've gotten from Sam Humphries before, because I've read a few of his other stuff, Green Lanterns being one of them. And while they always have a core element of seriousness to them, there's always a lighthearted playfulness to all of it. But this had more little sprinklings of the lightheartedness and more of darkness around Nina and her life, rather than the brightness. And the brightness all came from the colors and everything from this book, because this book is stunningly done. The art is amazing, the colors are great, it's phenomenal.
One of the things that I really like about the color choice in this book is that every time you see magic, the colors are really pastel and beautiful and almost translucent looking, to show that basically this thing that she knows is real that nobody else can see is this beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And I like that even if you look at Nina herself next to the other characters, she's the most colorful out of everybody. She's got this really brilliant teal hair. She's almost the most interesting looking person, so even just visually, she doesn't fit in with the rest of her surroundings, and I think it's cool, so.
Yeah, Blackbird was definitely a really fun issue, and I am looking forward to the rest of it.
Yeah, this is something that I'm definitely going to pull as singles.
If you're a big fan of magics and other realms and whatnot, definitely check out Blackbird. it ticks off a lot of boxes for what I like in a good indie book, and it just performed really well in just the number one.
It does say it's rated M. This particular issue, I didn't think was too bad. Like, I don't really know.
I think it was mostly rated mature for the themings and the drugs.
That's true. It does deal with addiction, like I said earlier.
It's definitely it's a more mature indie book. So parents, be warned, it may be bright and colorful, but it is not for younger audiences.
There is at least one F-bomb.
Yeah.
I don't know how many F-bombs there are, but I know there's at least one.
I would say it's better for like your 16 and up kind of crowd.
Yeah.
15, 16. Because I don't feel like it's bad enough to be like higher rated. I found
at least 2 F-bombs. Oh, 3. Okay, yeah, I see why it's a mature book now. When I was reading it, I was like, honestly just so absorbed in it that I didn't really realize that there's a lot of profanity. It just didn't even...
So it's drugs and profanity.
But I would still definitely suggest reading it.
Oh my god, it was so good. And the sweet Fiona Staples variant is amazing. I love Fiona Staples. Saga is the greatest indie book on the shelves currently.
Get the variant.
Snooze, you lose.
That's alright, because I got the Border Town one you wanted.
Dang it, you're right.
I got the Border Town variant you wanted, so...
We'll have to do like a hostage negotiation at some point.
Just swap the books.
30 paces.
Drop the book, back away.
Alright, so Blackbird, check it out. It's really good, really fun.
I love it. It's like pretty much everything that I love in an indie book. I love things that are colorful. I love female main characters. I love magic. It kind of reminds me
It has
of...
cats?
It does have cats. That was the first thing I noticed about it, is that there are cats. But, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of City of Bones, which is the Mortal Instruments series. There was a TV show for it recently, which is Shadowhunters, but as somebody who like loves the books, I found the show to be super disappointing, and I was not surprised when it got canceled. But it has an almost sort of like similar vibe to that to me, where there's like all these beautiful magical worlds that only very specific people can see, and you have to be able to use that particular kind of magic to know it's there. So I mean, like, this kind of fills in a hole for me that I've been, kind of bummed out that I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see of it. So I'm pretty excited about Blackbird.
And speaking of other dimensions and realms, we're going to move on to our next book. It's a Marvel title, Shatterstar #1, by Tim Seeley and Carlos Villa. Shatterstar is an older Marvel character who's been kind of out of the light for a bit. He worked predominantly with the X-Force, or the X-Men.
It's a character I honestly didn't know about.
Yeah, in the beginning of the book, like with a lot of these superhero books, they give you a brief rundown of the character. Genetically engineered with enhanced physical abilities and weapon mastery for gladiatorial combat on Mojo World, the man dubbed Gavidra 7 was transported through time and space to the present-day Marvel Universe, where he remains the warrior called Shatterstar. And this book is all about him post his travels, post him coming from the gladiatorial combat, him trying to free himself of Mojo World control, and just being a person for once. A person, he adopts a name, Ben Gavidra, and he just buys an apartment complex with his money that he was able to earn by working with the X-Men and bounty hunting. To have rooms for rent for other refugees of dimensions, like that are lost or that they can't get back home to, and it's really neat because it's just Shatterstar being a landlord.
For some reason, I'm always like really, really down to see superheroes in super freaking normal situations trying to do normal things. Like, I don't know why, but that's, like, exactly my cup of tea. Like,
slice of lifestyle stuff. It's really fun.
I love seeing people with, like, really extreme powers who are capable of these really crazy things, like, doing stuff like Netflix. Like, for some reason, that's just so funny to me.
I mean, it works out really well, and Ben really enjoys it. He likes being a landlord. He likes helping people who are lost, and he likes enjoying being not a gladiatorial warrior. And this issue is all about him living his normal life, and then it going suddenly sideways, and him having to take up the swords and costume and don the mantle of Shatterstar again to save his tenants. It was so well written. I love Tim Seeley's work. He mostly does like a lot of Nightwing. He's been on Nightwing for a very long time through the New 52 and part of Rebirth. Only recently gotten off in writing Green Lanterns now. But it's really fun. I believe this is a mini-series?
That I'm not positive of.
In the back it says Shatterstar number 2. So there's definitely more than one issue. But I would be hard pressed to kind of find this series going longer than like a trade, maybe 2, like 12 issues max. Just because while Shatterstar is really fun and interesting, I don't think he has enough background to support a monthly ongoing series for a long time. Unless he just like teams up with a bunch of different X-Men and stuff. Would be great. I love the X-Men.
But that's also why I like that we get to talk about different books. Because, we can introduce people to characters they might not have known about that are something outside of the normal. Like, not that I don't love the classic Marvel characters.
Or
but
the
it's
MCU characters.
Of course. You just get used to seeing the same Marvel characters that we see in the movies pretty much force-fed to us constantly because that is literally the face of Marvel. So it's interesting to see those different characters that don't necessarily make it to the screen because they're not those major ones.
Shatterstar did make it to the screen. He was in Deadpool 2.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Was he one of the X-Force?
Yeah. Shatterstar is notorious for working with the X-Force.
I do like, though, that Marvel and DC, even in small ways, have both been taking the initiative to bring more obscure characters into their movies. Even, like, I think we've actually talked about this before, but I could be wrong, even, like, in Lego Batman, how they referenced all sorts of crazy obscure characters in that one scene that, like, people didn't know existed, like Condiment Man. I think we actually talked about this last time. Yeah. Because we were talking about, crap, what was the book? Everybody died. We, like, just, not
Heroes
Hamlet.
in Crisis.
The Hamlet
Yeah,
of
when
the,
we're talking about Heroes in Crisis, and I was talking about Tom King, and I brought up Kite Man.
Yeah, and we talked about,
Kite Man. I love Kite Man.
we talked about Lego Batman.
Yeah. Like, this is one of those things. Like, Shatterstar, a prominent character in the X-Force. He hasn't been seen around a lot lately. He maybe shows up in 1 or 2 Marvel books, but, like, movie-wise, if you weren't looking for him in Deadpool 2, you didn't know he was there. You found out later when you found out who Shatterstar was. Like, oh yeah, that's right. Like a lot of people did with certain X-Men characters in the X-Men movies, who just came in and never saw anything besides a Wolverine comic because you couldn't throw a rock in a comic book store without hitting something with Wolverine on it in the 90s.
Things that are kind of basically like almost like Easter eggs, like different characters and scenarios that only people who are super into comics will enjoy. But Deadpool 2 was full of that kind of stuff. Like, there were a lot of references to specific comic book artists. They made a lot of jokes that only people who are avid, like, Marvel readers would actually understand. And I think it's cool when they do stuff like that. I know some people think that kind of thing is, like, alienating as far as, like, movie audiences go because they're not getting it per se. But I think it's cool to be like, yeah, we know that you like the books and we're acknowledging that this comes from somewhere and here's some cool references.
Maybe it'll get people interested in reading those books. Because you know how many people came in were looking for Domino and Cable stuff after Deadpool 2 came out?
Even now, people ask for Infinity War stuff all the time. And I mean, like, I've had to explain to them that they're not going to find anything that's going to give them the ending to the movie because that would be absolutely horrible on Marvel's part.
Yeah, and also, this doesn't take the same path as the Infinity War movie itself did.
Yeah, a lot of people just want to know what happens because they're panicking about their favorite heroes and they want to know that there's something better that's going to come out of it.
It's superhero stuff. But yeah, Shatterstar, it's great to see him back having his own comic. If you're a big fan of X-Men and X-Men characters, check out Shatterstar number 1. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Next up, we're moving on to What If? What if the Punisher? Alyssa, what if the Punisher? Like, just...
This one specifically is what if Peter Parker was the Punisher?
First off, let me just start by saying I love the what if stuff. The what if stuff for Marvel, the Elseworld stuff for DC, because it takes your favorite characters and throws them in weirder situations, or like maybe they took a left instead of a right, or like what if we never won the Revolutionary War or something like that.
I like it. It's fan theories pretty much.
Yeah, it's great. And this one is awesome because the whole concept is just like Peter Parker got bit by a different type of spider with a skull on it. So he built his costume around that and then had Punisher mentality.
It's pretty much the difference of, like, what would happen if instead of deciding to use his powers to help people, which he still does, he's still at heart a good guy who's doing... if you've read any of the Punisher comics, or even if you've seen the Netflix Punisher, you know that, Frank Castle's not a bad guy.
No.
He has good intentions, but, due to the trauma that he's gone through, he has a very different way of handling things. And it's not the way that your standard Marvel hero obviously takes care of things, which it's interesting to see Peter Parker in that sort of light, because it's something that could have easily happened. If he had handled Uncle Ben's death differently, this could have been a very realistic scenario.
I mean, in like the first Spider-Man movie, it came to that decision. Like, he was going to either let the guy die or save him and let the prison system deal with him. And
they're two very realistic paths that you could take, where you could either be the good guy or you could get your revenge.
Yeah. So basically, it's like, what if he killed the guy who killed Uncle Ben? Like, that's like the whole plot of this book. And it's really fun because it just takes everything you know about like classic Spidey and like drips it in Punisher, which is dope.
I've always really liked the Punisher.
It's sweet. The Netflix series really brought some really good points to his character, and just gave Punisher the like love he deserves.
If you do like the Netflix Punisher, I would actually very strongly,
if you just like Punisher,
suggest that you read this. So,
if you just like Punisher, if you like Spidey and you like Punisher, because they always team up at some points in some form or something, just check this book out. The What If series is really fun, and I'm really enjoying the different ones we got. So far, we have What If Flash Thompson was Spider-Man.
That one's dark, but
yeah.
It's really good. It's
awesome.
Very well done.
And all of them have like an art style that like kind of harkens to like, not like vintage classic comics, but like 90s comics, which is really fun because that's like,
yeah, it's got a nostalgic value to it.
Yeah, it's really great. There was the
covers are even
What If
cool.
There's the What If X-Men, whereas like what if they were like the X Factor was all like the same mutation. It just let them access this weird online server and everything. It was really interesting. It was the .exe men. There's a few other ones coming out. What If Ghost Rider, which is something I'm super excited about because of what if Ghost Rider needed to like, what if Ghost Rider was just in a metal band essentially. The Spirit of Vengeance is coming out, and he needs to work with a metal band to put it back. Or what if Thor was raised by frost giants? What if magic became the Sorcerer Supreme? I think it's really fun concepts, and I'm excited for them to do more what ifs. I love what if.
I love all the ones that they've done, like this recent run of what ifs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty excited. And
all of them. I'm checking almost all of these out. What If Thor is probably gonna be really fun.
And I don't know if this is a variant cover, but I know
It
that
is.
there was a... Okay, the variant cover that we're looking at right now, I absolutely love it as somebody who, works for the Toy Vault. It looks like one of our Marvel Legends boxes. So, like, it's got, obviously, like, the drawing of the character on the front but he looks like one of the figures, and it has, like, the head without the mask on it, and then a couple of different hands, and an accessory, which is, like, his web shooter. I am a sucker for anything that is drawn to like look like toys because it appeals to that part of me that works in a toy store and loves to collect toys.
All the What If covers have these, which is really fun because I'm hoping we do get like.
I was gonna say I want them to
Punisher.
make these Marvel Legends and do like all these What If characters.
I want them.
I love it.
But yeah, check out the What Ifs that are coming out. They're super fun little intrigue things. They're all one shots, so it's not really a massive investment to get into them. And if you always want what ifs whenever they come out, which hopefully they're doing more, write it on your pull list. Put all Marvel what ifs, and when those end up coming out, you get them right into your box. You never have to forget that what if came out. They get put right into your box.
And the cool thing about them is you don't have to read every single one of them to understand them. They're all their own unique stories.
They're all one shots.
Yeah.
They're all one shots. It's great. So next up, we're going to move on to one of the most compelling,
visually stunning,
just interesting Batman books of all time. Batman Blank. That's right, folks. It is just 24 pages of pure imagination. It's all just blank covers, and it's done on purpose. This book was, along with Wonder Woman and Superman, was made for an annual event called 24-Hour Comic Day. It generally happens in October, and it's seen as like a friendly competition between people and just as a creative exercise. The whole point is in 24 hours, you write and draw your own comic.
I love the idea of this. I'm surprised that I didn't know about it before. Otherwise, I probably would have participated. I just love the concept of it in general. And I mean, like this past summer, I participated in the 48-Hour Film Festival in Rhode Island with the team. So stuff like this I just think is so cool because I love seeing how creative teams can manage to put out amazing content on such a time crunch. To be able to actually come up with a concept and a storyline, and especially with comics, having to actually physically draw out all those panels in 24 hours, that's insane.
What usually takes months of work, they do in just 24 short hours. But yeah, every year since 2004, this event takes place in locations that register with the 24-Hour Comic website to be a location to do this. You don't have to even do it at one of those locations. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with friends. You can do it on a plane, on a train.
Toy Vault did not participate, I don't believe.
No, not this year. But it's a fun little exercise of creativity, even if you're not like the most artistic person or the most compelling writer, give it a shot. Draw your own Batman book, draw your own Wonder Woman book, draw your own Superman book. You don't have to do that. Maybe they cross over with one of your favorite characters from a different series. You can do whatever you want. This is 24 pages of what you want, and it's super fun. It happens every October, and this year was the 6th, so it's already passed by the time this is going up. But we wanted to talk about it just to show appreciation for this awesome thing.
And even if you didn't get the chance to participate in it, you could probably still find these Batman blank books. We have a couple of them kicking around at the Crystal location where we are today. So, I mean, it's a pre-made book. You don't have to worry about putting the pages together yourself. You can just draw right in it. It has the Batman logo and the DC Universe #1 on it. I was literally joking earlier about how I was going to start my own label using one of these and call it Batman Glitter and do either a lilac Batman or a Batman Peach and have him be pastel Batman. So
yeah, you do whatever you want.
Anything you want. It's literally up to you.
You can even do the 24-hour challenge with your friend. You don't have to do it at the time if you don't want to participate in that. Just pick up the book and draw. Be creative. Express yourself.
It's basically just a blank journal that's in comic book form. It's yours to do whatever you want with. And I really like the idea of that. So. And
the paper is really nice. It's a really nice paper.
Yeah, I actually might pick one of these up and just for the heck of it, do my Batman glitter just for the fun,
Why not?
The DC glitter label.
Do the 24-hour challenge, Alyssa.
I should have everyone somebody else draw the cover for me.
Everyone in the comments, tell Alyssa to do this.
I would love awful it'll be.
If she ends up doing it, which she will, we'll post some pictures so everyone can see the phenomenal Batman glitter. But that's it. What we're talking about for DC. There were a few books we wanted to talk about. We figured there's a few other things we wanted to get through first. A few honorable mentions for the week's Titans, Flash, Teen Titans. There's a bunch of really good books going on.
There's a lot of awesome Spider-Man centric things. We just
DC?
don't want to talk about
for DC.
Just in general. For Marvel, okay, Spider-Man's not.
Well, yeah, you talk so much about Spider-Man. We've had spiders in this podcast every week since.
It's so hard to avoid Spider-Man. You can't throw a rock in the Marvel universe right now without hitting a Spider-Man comic.
Same thing with Batman. He's on everything. Wolverine in the 90s. They're everywhere.
Well, that's why we decided to pick Shatterstar, because it was something that we haven't talked about already.
True, and Shatterstar's a neat character. I like it. It was a really good book. I'm glad I picked it up. But yeah, check out some DC books. There's a lot of really fun ones going on right now. I'm throwing out Titans. Just read Titans. It's been so good. Let us know what you're currently reading for DC. Maybe convince us to talk about one of your favorite DC books and get our opinions on that.
I'm honestly always down to read any book that people recommend to me. So if there's something that you think that we should read or something you think we would enjoy, let us know. Yeah. I would absolutely love to do that.
Me too. Let us know in the comments. Give us some recommendations.
Even if it's not current. If there's something you're interested in that you want us to read to talk about, we'll totally do that. We'll make time for it at the end of the segment or something.
Exactly. So let us know in the comments. Feel free to be vocal about what you want out of this podcast. So next up, speaking of books that I really like, I'm going to do a quick recommendation on Rose. Rose is an indie comic written by Meredith Finch and penciled by Ig Guerrera. This week, issue 13 came out, and instead of talking about that issue, I just want to talk about Rose as a whole. Rose is a story about a young girl named Rose, who is the last guardian after the evil Queen Drusilla, years prior, found them, and killed them all to gain their power and control her reign. But Rose, not coming into her power at the time, wasn't found, and then eventually did come into her power. Her guardian, her cat, spelled Khat, awoke from his slumber, and now Rose and Thorn are working together to take down Drusilla with a rebellion against the kingdom. And it's a really phenomenal book. It is a very Conan the Barbarian inspired-esque book, but with like beautiful fantasy imagery, magical creatures. Like, something about this book just harkens to like the 80s fantasy lover in me, and I love it. If you are not reading Rose, definitely give it a check. I've been trying to convince Alyssa to read it, and
you're not the only one. I think John's also tried to recommend it to me.
It's a good book. It's really fun, and just the penciling and the imagery is so beautiful, and the colors are great. Like, Rose is probably like one of my favorite indie books outside of like Saga currently going on right now. Every time it shows up, I am just excited to read it. I pick it up and read it almost immediately. There is no lag time in that. But yeah, that's one of the recommendations I'm going to throw out. Check out Rose. It's an image book specifically, so that first trade is only $10, which is really great. Volume 2 is also out, which is only $15, which is also really good. So check out Rose. It's a phenomenal series. So next up, we're going to finish off our last book with the most rockinest, metalist, butt-kickingest theming of all time. Alyssa, what is our last book?
Oh my god, it is Murder Falcon.
Yeah!
And it is an Image comic.
It is.
Obviously, I love it.
It is. It's so metal.
I cannot put into words how freaking happy Murder Falcon makes me. Like, you can hear my voice light up when I'm talking about Murder Falcon.
Imagine if, like, someone asked Jack Black what his favorite superhero would be. And this is it. This is, like, the epitome of, like, rock and roll metal, like, extreme fights. There is a line in this book. We got a poster of it earlier.
There's so many lines.
There's so many lines in this book. But my favorite line is when our main character, Jake, shreds on his guitar, and our other main character, the Murder Falcon, who is just this ripped robot arm having, like, blind bandana wearing Falcon. It's awesome. And he's just shredding on his guitar, and it just says, "The metal, it fuels me," and then spin kicks a monster. This book is actually...
There'll be no baby eating on my watch.
Yeah. This book is actually only rated T for teen, so it's not mostly for this violence. The language is actually pretty solid in this book, and it's mostly just for metal violence. But you'll be hard pressed not to find a lot of comics in general that aren't T for teen.
It kind of reminds me of so I don't know if you ever used to watch it when you were younger, but there was the TV show Kablam.
Yeah.
And they had Justice League. No.
Action League Now?
Action League Now. Yes,
Action
not
League
Justice
Now.
League. They were they were like, yeah. But it kind of reminds me of that sort of vibe. It also kind of reminds me of on Cartoon Network where they did the Justice Friends, which is what I was thinking about, where it was like freaking Val Holland, the one who was like kind of Thor but not really.
Yeah,
and he just used to like metal shred and stuff. Like, that's like if Jack Black wrote a comic book about that character, it would be Murder Falcon.
And it's not him. It's written by Daniel Warren Johnson and done by the art is done by Mike Spicer, and it's just solid. The art's really well done.
It's the story of a beautiful bromance between a man and a falcon.
Yeah, a murder falcon.
A murder falcon.
And metal. But the whole story, besides, having our two heroes hunting monsters, is that Jake is a musician who's kind of down on his luck. He's had a lot of problems happen to him. He's lost his drive to play. He's lost some friends and some loved ones, and he's just in a hard spot right now.
But everybody loves his music.
Everybody. The first few pages before like Murder Falcon shows up, it's just everyone being like, "We loved your playing. Like we loved your music. You made this band what it is. You made my life better. Like play more music. You're really good at it." And
People
it's
being
just
like, I listen to your album all the time. I listen to it on repeat. Like I'd love to hear new stuff. It makes my day every time. There's like a grandma, like old lady style, like
Peg the diner.
Yeah, like waitress at a diner who's got like the most like beefy like arms with like full tattoo sleeves, and she like wants nothing more than this guy to start playing music again because it makes her happy and it makes her life a better place. So it's like, I love this book.
It's so good because he takes all that pain and finds a new purpose with Murder Falcon when he's attacked by one of these monsters, and his broken guitar reforms into the Murder Falcon guitar, which is the head of the guitar has the little clip beat of a falcon, has the MF on it. It's awesome looking.
I want the singles, I want the trades, I want the hardcover, I want the bumper sticker, I want the t-shirt.
It's awesome. We both are just absolutely in love with this book. And also, I was trying to say earlier, but like the art in this book is gorgeous. The lines, the coloring, the people are so intricate and detailed, while at the same time the background effects and the monsters are really nice looking. Mike Spicer actually did one of my favorite indie books recently that came out.
It's also easy to read for me, which is good. One of my problems with reading comic books, as much as I love them, and I've been getting better with it, actually, since we've been doing the podcast, and I've kind of had to force myself, is I have really terrible ADHD. So sometimes when artists are a little bit too careless in their placement of speech bubbles or like sound effects in the backgrounds, it's hard for me to actually focus on reading the book if I can't actually focus on reading it and not just trying to take in all the craziness that's happening on the page. So this book, to me, I love the way that it's laid out because I could actually enjoy looking at it while being able to follow it and not get completely sidetracked with it.
So this book is actually written and drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson. Mike Spicer does the colors, which is still really good. But Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer also did a 12-issue series by Image under the Skybound imprints, which is the same one as this, Extremity, which has that same art style feel to it. Extremity is a really good book about family, love, loss, and tribe. Family, love, loss, tribal pride between homes, and just crazy like post-apocalyptic fantasy nonsense. It's awesome. But this book is, from the writing to the penciling to the colors, amazing.
This is honestly my favorite book of the week.
Yep.
Of all the ones we've talked about, I know I hyped Blackbird.
It might be my favorite book of the month.
Honestly, yeah. I'm really, really into it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm having a hard time trying to find the words to express how amazing this book is without going too much into detail, because this book is just so phenomenal. And as soon as I found out Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer did this book, I was in it. Because, like I said, I loved Extremity, which everyone should check out.
I actually haven't read Extremity.
It's super good. It's only 12 issues, and like I said, it's a really heart-wrenching story about friends, family, love, loss, and pride of the tribe, and just everything. It's a really well done book.
Weirdly enough, I own one issue of it, even though I don't actually read it, and it's because I think it was last year, in celebration of I think it was the anniversary of The Walking Dead or something. No, it was for the AMC Walking Dead TV show's 100th episode. Image did a Walking Dead style cover for every one of their books. Yeah. And I tried to collect all of them. I'm still missing a couple. I'm trying to hunt them down. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the ones that I found that was pretty cool. And I was intrigued by the book, but I couldn't find the back issues of it because by the time that they did the Walking Dead variant, they was a little deep into it already. So it
was probably also my fault because I was recommending this book to everyone.
I mean, that's totally fine. I mean, I'm sure I could find a trade or something.
The gold letter cover and the ash can.
Oh, that's cool.
It was worth it. It was worth it. I love that book so much. But
I have the Walking Dead cover.
But Murder Falcon, check it out. It's Alyssa and I's pick for the month at this point.
We could do an entire podcast on just Murder Falcon.
Come back for our Murder Falcon podcast, where I will be dressed as Murder Falcon. Actually, no, I'll be dressed as Jake. You be Murder Falcon.
Okay.
And I think it'll work out great.
It'll be an entire episode where we talk about nothing but Nancy Drew and Murder Falcon.
I mean, what other things are there?
There shouldn't be anything else other than that.
But yeah, if you read this book already, if you haven't read the book, let us know what you think. If you don't like it, if you do like it, let us know. I want to talk about this book.
If you don't like it, you're wrong, but we'll listen anyway.
You're entitled to your opinions.
No, you're wrong.
I'm trying to be nice about this, Alyssa. Come on. All right.
There are two kinds of people.
So we're gonna actually end this off with a little information about an upcoming event for the Toy Vault. Well, Alyssa, what are we doing this weekend?
This weekend, which is October 13th, which is a Saturday, by the way, not a Friday, which is unfortunate because in October, a Friday the 13th in October is awesome. But anyway, Saturday, October 13th, we are doing a Walking Dead Day, which I guess that ties into what I was just talking about. So this time it's actually the comics anniversary, I believe. I think it's like the 15-year anniversary.
15th anniversary.
When I first heard that, it kind of took me off guard because I was thinking about it and I was like, well, there's no way Walking Dead's around 15 years. But I mean, even the show itself is on season 9 now, which means that it's been filming for at least 10 years. I would say 9 or 10. It probably started 10 years ago, and then
I want to say it started in 2007, so about that.
Yeah. So I mean, this book has been around over a decade, and that's an incredible amount of content to put out. I give Kirkman serious credit for running, because it's not even with different Marvel books and stuff where you can read 20 different Captain America series, but it's not the same one.
2010.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's
about right. That's 8 years.
About 8 years.
Yeah.
I was pretty off.
But I mean, it's the anniversary for the comic series itself, and local comic book shops are participating in what they're calling the Walking Dead Day. And what the Toy Vault specifically is doing is we're going to have these polybagged, which if you don't know what that means, it's basically a comic book that is sealed completely in a black bag. Mm-hmm. You can either open the bag up or you can leave it sealed. It's totally up to you. But basically they're going to have different variants for different issues, and some of them are going to be ones that you can only find picking up through Walking Dead Day specifically. Yep. And that's really cool. I'm a big fan of variants. I like when they release variants for comics that have been running for a long time. I just think that's cool.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of key issues in the series. 100, they have 4370 something. It's a bunch of key issues in the series, which is really cool.
The one that I'd be probably most interested in is issue 100, just because that's the first appearance of Negan. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if I get some sort of rad variant for first appearance of Negan, I would be beyond thrilled. So, but you should rush to the Warwick Mall if you're looking into picking some stuff up for Walking Dead Day, because we're also going to have some pretty cool pins. But what the Warwick location is doing specifically that other locations aren't is I fashioned what I call the Wheel of Lucille, which is a kind of a roulette style game. You come in, give the wheel a spin, and if you win, which it'll be explained in better detail when you can actually see the wheel in front of you. If you win, then you get some discounts on really cool Walking Dead stuff. That's basically all I'm really going to say about it, because I think it's a cool thing that you should check out.
But anyway, if you aren't doing anything on Saturday, or even if you are, make a point. Come down to our Warwick location and check out the Walking Dead Day. Cool stuff going on. Lots of great product to pick up. All the books will be available at all the locations, but the event is happening at our Warwick location.
And I'm going to be super lazy cosplay as Carl Grimes. So
look for Alyssa as Carl Grimes. You'll recognize her by her giant cowboy hat.
I did the hat myself, actually.
Oh, nice.
I did. I shaped the little gold things out of clay, and I put the little string around my hat, and I punched a hole where the badge should be and put a little grommet inside of it. Mm-hmm. I went pretty ham on my Carl cosplay. So,
well, go to Warwick, check it out. It's gonna be a fun day. Everyone.
I'll also probably be dressed as Carl at least one day at Red Island Comic Con this year. So
yes.
Oh, that's another thing. If you don't know, we have Comic-Con tickets now.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this and you don't know and you want Comic-Con tickets, you should probably rush to whichever Toy Vault is the closest to you and buy tickets before the Stampede comes.
Exactly. Every location has tickets as of this moment. So call, find out, get some tickets, and we'll see you at Rhode Island Comic-Con, everybody. And with that, I think that's a great place to end. I've been Alex.
I was Alyssa.
And
now I'm Carl.
We'll catch you next time.